all of a sudden, Trey Lance getting rave reviews. D'Amico Ryans yesterday. I mean, he needed to say something nice because, frankly, Trey Lance tore his defensive part. Now, Bosa wasn't out there. Armstead wasn't out there. None of the linebackers were out there, but the secondary was, and Lance completed 75% of his throws in front of us. So D'Amico's like, yeah, man, he's putting the ball in the money every time. Juszczyk had nice things to say. Trent Williams had nice. Everyone seems to be pumping him up. Peter Schrager. Do you actually buy the hype? Do you really buy it? I mean, it's practice.
Okay, so
in the sense that, do you think the Niners really, really believe it?
Yes. Okay. I believe that whatever they thought with the development aspect of Trey Lance's game, where he could be, heading into year two, limited playing time as a rookie, one real kind of offseason and reworking his grip or, whatever else he talked about. I think from that standpoint, where he's at right now is probably very encouraging. Now, dude, are they saying he's Patrick Mahomes right now, right? Going to go off and win an MVP? I wouldn't say that, but I would say just in the sense of, hey, this is a kid where there's been a lot of question marks about him. We've heard throughout the offseason all these different rumors and what people were saying about him, and he can't do this, can't do that. You got Emmanuel Acho on First Things First every day talking about how Trey Lance is not the guy, he sucks. And I would say what he at the very least shown throughout OTAs, which for a lot of guys isn't important, some guys it is more important. I think it was important for Trey Lance to at least show, hey, this is where I'm at in my development. I think they're happy with that. So as far as the hype goes, I don't think it's, we're going to go out and win a Super Bowl with this kid. But I think, you know what? This kid is ready to be a starter, which was a huge question mark heading into this offseason.
Yeah, I'm starting to buy it too. It seems like Kyle really believes that it takes 2 years for a quarterback in particular to learn a full year to learn his offense. And I think if he had it his way, he wouldn't play the quarterback the first year. And I think that's what he did last year. He just erred on the side of caution. And it's interesting. I was interested to see, like, is this going to work? All this time in the scout team, is he going to come in year two without any real game experience and look like he's been in the offense for a year? And so far in OTAs, yeah, I mean, completed 75% of his throws. His TD-INT ratio was 3-1. Like, Jimmy never had a month like that in practice. So, yeah, in that sense, it worked. I'm buying the hype. Now, it's not 11-on-11 tackle football. We'll see how he fares when he does that. But, like, you definitely can see a difference from last year.
Yeah, and I think the biggest difference is probably comes from his confidence, right?
Yeah.
I mean, just think about being the number 3 overall pick, going into a situation where this is really somebody else's team, and everybody loves this Jimmy Garoppolo guy. And then it's like whatever you thought this was going to be is like, this is not that, right? So now you have to go through and you have to try to find your way. And okay, I want to be a leader because I'm the number 3 overall pick and I'm a quarterback, but I really can't be that. So I think a lot of it was him trying to really figure out and find his way and really learn how to be a professional from that standpoint. But then as you transition into this year and you hear your coach in the media at owners meeting come out and say, hey, like, Trey Lance is our guy. That's why we're trading Jimmy Garoppolo, and we're happy where Trey Lance is. And yeah, we're good to go. And Jimmy Garoppolo, when he's healthy, we'll trade him, right? If we can trade him, we'll trade him. I think those things gave him the confidence that, you know what, I can take that next step in my leadership. I can definitely be more confident in the sense of if I have a bad throw or if I have a good throw, like I heard you talking about the fluttery bad miss, right? Yeah. And then he comes back and he hits 2 more, right? But, he doesn't have to look over his shoulder or act or fake like he's that leader guy. I think he can really believe that. So I think that's probably been the biggest difference right now. And when I listen to a lot of the players talk about how he's carrying himself and, his leadership role and Jimmy Ward, all these guys get behind him, I think it made it more clear that this is now his team.
Yeah, I definitely think this is his team. Absolutely. I'm buying the hype. I really think that that they mean it when they talk about all the things they like about him. For the first time, like last year, they were so reluctant to say anything nice. Also, maybe because it was Jimmy Garoppolo's team, but I think they feel like they've seen enough. I mean, I'd like to think that they feel that way. I mean, I guess we'll see what they do with Jimmy Garoppolo, but I think this was, here's what I wanted to say. Here's why I'm buying the hype. And I think it was just OTAs, it was just minicamp, but it's important to remember that Debo wasn't out there and Kittle wasn't out there. So he had this impressive run without his 2 top guys. It's not like you could say, well, Debo's great. I mean, any quarterback. Mullins would tear it up with Debo and Kittle out there. I mean, he didn't do that. It was Ayuk and Ray and Jawan Jennings and Tanner Hudson, a bunch of he spread the ball around, and I think that's got to be a good thing.
That was the 2013 Jets receiving core out there practicing, which wasn't
Yep.
all that. Also too, a lot of what happens in OTAs, they're working on things, right? And Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance, they're going to continue to have to learn and develop that rapport between those two guys. What Trey Lance does well, what he doesn't do well.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it is probably, hey, we're starting from the very basics and we're going to build on that. But it's not so much of what he does now. It's just these are the things that we would like to do. Let's see how he handles these things. And then, come week 1 against Chicago Bears, and when you have Debo and Ayuk and Kittle and Trent Williams blocking for and all these other guys, now it's more scheme. And I think that'll elevate his game even a little bit more.
You start working on things. What's funny is when you go to practice, you can actually see what they're going to be working on that day. They'll warm up and then they'll sort of rep through the kind of throws Kyle's going to call in camp. So early on, it was the 15-yard dig over the middle. You saw Trey working on it, and then he would call it in 11 on 11s. Then a couple of days ago, they called a deep pass. One of the first deep passes they called, and it was for Ray, and Trey missed it. And I made a big deal about it. Like, dude, you got to hit this throw. The next day, you see Trey Lance and all the quarterbacks doing long toss, warming up. Like, okay, it's deep throw day. And I don't know when it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen. And then all of a sudden on the second series for Lance, just straight drop back, deep throw touchdown to Ray up the left sideline. And then next throw, again, Jordan Matthews at the post, like boom, boom. Like, okay, got it. That's very impressive to me that he can make that adjustment the next day. I like that.
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen him make adjustments fairly quick, throughout his tenure with the 49ers, where again, we're talking about somebody starting at the very bottom, but you see the transitions throughout games where it's okay, things might be a little shaky at first, then you kind of see him grasp it and improve. That's why I wish he would have played as a rookie, because I think the progress he would have made and the confidence that everyone would have in him heading into year 2 would be even that much more.
I think people are going to nitpick the way he does his job for a while. Like the ball, like he doesn't spin it great. Maybe he holds the ball a little long, but I think the end result of what he produces is going to be excellent.
Right.
So,
and some of those things could eventually improve. I talked to my guy Greg Pinelli a lot about the quarterbacks and the mechanics and things like that. And you hear Trey Lance and him kind of talk about how some of the things are overblown. Essentially, that's what he was saying. But there are certain things, and I've asked my guy about it. Throwing the ball, and maybe it's not as tight of a spiral or whatever the case is. And there are different ways. And I felt this. I did my fake pro day when my guy put together this script for me, and he would just tell me little things like, "Hey, Croc, when you go to throw the ball, when you go to release it or whatever, lock your wrist this way and then snap this." And then just boom, you just see the ball just fly out different. So those are things like, now I'm pretty sure by now I've reverted back to the normal way I throw the ball. But the more you work on those things and then the more comfortable you get doing it at full speed, you get better at it. So I would assume the way Trey Lance throws the ball this year, and there might be some knucklers and things like that, right? We've seen that. But I bet by year 3, we might see a little bit better ball. Not saying he's gonna be Steve Young throwing it, but just in the sense of how it looks coming out of his hands, the more comfortable he gets, it should get a little bit better.
I know you like watching JT O'Sullivan. He is very good. He made a video maybe a year or 2 ago about spirals. Nothing to do with Trey Lance. It's a really informative video. And one thing he says, like how to get better, or how his coaches told him, was in your spare time, laying in your bed, just have a football and just toss it up to the right above you, and just practice have it come off your index finger. Practice that flick. And Lance already said that, like, I'm just practicing feeling it come off my index finger, because last year he couldn't. I mean, he broke his index finger. So I think he seems like the kind of guy who wants to know his weaknesses, wants to know how to fix them, is going to do everything he can to fix them. And if they're fixable, he'll do it. That seems kind of like who he is.
Yeah.
It's not like the kind of guy who's like, I don't need to work on that. I don't think that's his attitude.
Well, and I think that was the thing that a lot of people, and that's why I was so high on him, right? I mean, I have this tweet, it's out there. And before the draft, someone had asked me, like, who do you think 49ers draft, or, who's going to be the guy? And I said, listen, out of all these quarterbacks, and this is including Trevor Lawrence and anybody else, if I had to bet my life savings on one of these guys, it would be Trey Lance.
Yeah.
And for a lot of reasons, what you just said, now he's not even a 49er at this point. But once you start to hear certain things about someone, obviously he has the talent and the ability. Now it's just about becoming consistent. And I feel like he's the type of person that wherever his shortcomings are, the things that he needs to continue to work on, feel like he's that guy that's going to work on it, and eventually he'll get to what it is that you want. So I'll always go to bat for those type of guys. Another guy like that, Hufanga, and I know you've had your things that you've said about Hufanga, but he certain things, and it's like maybe he might not be able to overcome things. There's a reason why he was drafted much later than like a Trey Lance who needs to work on things. But they have the mindset to continue to get better. And I just feel like those type of guys, they'll maximize their potential. Whatever that potential is for them, they'll maximize that. Hufanga might not be more than just a great special teamer. But if that's what he's going to be, like he will be that. If he's a rotation safety type guy and that's what his max potential is, he will eventually be that. And I think I'd say the same for Trey Lance. If his max potential is an all-pro caliber quarterback, I think he works hard enough to become that type of guy.
Yeah, and how he spins the ball probably won't determine that much. I mean, Jimmy spins it really well. He won't throw it down the field. So what? I already think Lance is better than Colin Kaepernick was. Maybe that's tough because Kaepernick accomplished a lot. And Kaepernick could really spin the ball. That's one thing I'll say. He threw real tight spiral.
He threw funny, but yeah, that thing was a tight spiral and it was gunning. But he threw funny. It was kind of like robotic with it, kind of like Kellerman.
A little bit, yeah.
Like, I mean, Kellerman was like
pitching from the
pocket.
Mine
was like not as talented version
of Cap.
Of Cap.
He was like a 6'3", 210-pound, and 4'6" version of Cap.
Right.
Kind of. Yeah. If anything happens with him,
Cap was a big dude, huh? 6'4", 230 pounds. I mean,
Cap, dude.
As
when
fast
Cap
as
was 24, 25, he was one of the most athletic players in the league. People forget that. Steven Hernandez says, Eric, you're from Stockton. Ain't you peeped the Tigers?
Oh, yeah, man. Real 209,
Real 209. Yeah. You and Dallas Braden.
Yeah,
Dallas Braden used to
I
have
think he went to
Stag.
Stag.
All over his hat. Yep.
I think he went to Stag.